Okay, good evening, everybody. Could I have your attention, please? I know we have a few people still coming in, but we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Bev Houghton. I'm the first Vice President of the Rossmore Homeowners Association Board, and on behalf of the whole board, we welcome you to this event. Please stand now as we enter our country by the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. We are glad to see you all here tonight. All of the candidates for the positions that are being addressed this evening were invited. Unfortunately, not all were able to attend for some of the office, but we do have a full agenda this evening, and there are some more programs over there if you didn't get a chance to pick them up. But before I take a few minutes to explain the program, I wanted to make sure to point out the restrooms to all of you. The women's restrooms are down this way, follow the exit sign, and then to your left are the men's restrooms. The candidates will each be allowed time for their comments and the audience will be offered an opportunity for questions by submitting them on 3x5 cards that are being available from members of the board, which will be passing cards around. You can just raise your hand and they'll give you a card and they'll pick it up for you. Make sure you identify what office it's for. And then we also have some over on the table there unless they've all gone out. The cards will then be given to the moderators who will then read the questions to the candidates. Time is limited and you're welcome to talk to candidates when they are off the podium as long as it's outside this area so that it does not interfere with the program. We will start with the Congressional, State Senate, Assembly, and Orange County Supervisor group moderated by Milt Houghton. Then there will be a question and answer time after each of those offices. Then we will move on to the Los Alamitos School Board candidates moderated by Michael Maynard, followed by the Rossmore Community Service District candidates moderated by Mike Sanders. We ask your consideration on being quiet for this event. It is being videotaped and it will be available within a matter of days on our website and also on LATV, and we'll be sending out information on that. At this time, I will turn the program over to Milt Houghton, who is at our moderator's microphone on the left.
Thank you. As a short word, we're three moderators. There's a question of why we had three moderators. I want to take the first group because I represent the school board on the Los Alamitos School District's Personnel Commission to avoid any conflict of interest. Michael Maynard, who is the president of the RCSD, will moderate that board, and then because both of us have a representative from our organization running for the Rossmore Community Services District, Mike Sanders will moderate that board so that none of us have either endorsed any of the candidates for the sections that we are moderated or we have anybody that we know or could have a vested interest in that particular office will be there. We're, I think, fortunate to have some community leaders here with Mike Maynard as the current president of the Rossmore Community Services District, and Mike Sanders, who's well known and has served in many capacities within our community. Our first candidate, and let me introduce, I'm keeping an eye out for Jose Solario. He has not arrived yet, and I've already warned Joel Block that if he hasn't arrived by the time that slot comes open, that Joel's ready to step in, and then Jose will be speaking when he arrives. But our first one will be for the U.S. Congress position, and that, well, Andy, and you can take the podium. Our speakers will be here at the podium. And I have Dorothy Fitzgerald, one of our RHA board members, it will be our official timekeeper. She has paddles that'll give the candidates notice of how much time they have left, and I've given her permission at the end of that time if she needs to throw the paddle at the candidate if he doesn't quit talking. Andy.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mel. And thank you, members of the Rossmore Homeowners Association, for having me here. People wonder why I'm running. If you look at look at the district. There's a pretty heavy Democratic registration advantage, and where it says, well, what's the point? You're running against a guy who's an incumbent. He's a well-known politician from Long Beach. In fact, if you haven't been living under a rock in Long Beach, you know who Alan Lowenthal is. So, what's the point? In fact, there was one, semi-prominent Republican bigwig in the Long Beach area who told me that it was really a waste of my time and resources for me to run, and he was really unwilling to help me or meet with me or give me any advice. So it's like, what's my plan? And the reason I'm running is because Alan Lowenthal spent 12 years in Sacramento creating policies that we are reaping the benefits of today. Companies are leaving California. Our educational system, the quality and the ranking goes down year by year by year. And now he's in Washington, and he's taking those same policies and the same effect that it has on California, it's affecting our country in the same way. So I think that our country deserves better, and I think that you folks in the 47th District deserve a choice, and that's why I'm running. And the other reason is, I have ideas. I think I can make a difference. And thinking I can make a difference is what has motivated my community involvement since I moved to Long Beach, about 28 years ago. I live on the west side of Long Beach, which is, altogether different than, than life here in Rossmore. There's a kind of a crime problem. And I noticed when I moved in, there were guys hanging out down the block, and they were there all day, and they were selling drugs. So I took it upon myself to organize a neighborhood watch group, which was not easy since I'm the only one on my block that speaks English. But you know what? I did it, and it worked. And I thought I was making a difference, just by the fact that they left. And and that worked good for several years, and then I knew for sure I was making a difference one night, because I was awake in the middle of the night as my house was being sprayed with gunfire. Got 30 holes from a 9mm. Those were tough times, and I got through it. My parents instilled in me the character values, and where I grew up in East Lansing, and where I was an altar boy and a Boy Scout. Now, I have a degree in aerospace engineering, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that our country is on the wrong track. And because it's on the wrong track, families in the 47th District are hurting. And I have a vision based upon our country's founding principles, ideas of individual rights, personal freedom, limited government, ideas that can renew our country and restore our prosperity. As I said, one of the things I think I bring, what I can affect, and I can contribute, is ideas. And I have for example, healthcare. If you go to my website, andywhalen.com, you'll see I have a plan for replacing Obamacare. I don't really oppose it, I have a plan for replacing it. And healthcare is really important to me, because healthcare is one of the areas where we're losing our freedom. Obamacare sort of works in, hold on a second. Obamacare, if you look at it, it kind of works in this way. We're going to, mandate this, we're going to prohibit that, we're going to subsidize this, and we're going to punish that, and then we're going to get everyone to work and behave in the way that we want them to. And what's the result of this? If you try and sign up for health insurance today, if you go tonight and you go to California or any of the private sites and you try and buy private health insurance and you want to, say, activate on November 1st, unless you've had some life-changing event like a loss of job or a divorce, it's forbidden. The Affordable Care Act and my opponent, Alan Lowenthal, can't tell you you cannot buy health insurance now until open enrollment. If you decide that you need health insurance that covers chiropractic care, that's forbidden also. Forbidden. People, this is the United States of America. This is not how a free country is supposed to work. This is not how free people are supposed to live. And if you send me to Washington, I promise that I will fight this, and I'll fight for our rights tooth and nail. Thank you very much.
Commercial plug here, if anybody has any other questions. I had two cards. He already answered the first one, so we have additional one. It actually is very appropriate here because it carries on from where you were. The question is, aside from Obamacare, what are the other issues that you find the district really cares most about?
You know, I think what's number one on everybody's mind is jobs. If we have Boeing, used to be big in Southern California, and aerospace used to be big in Southern California. And I came out to California in 1983 because I had a job in aerospace. And now these good, high-paying jobs are leaving our district and leaving our state. So we need to bring things back. We need to turn this around. And not only that, for instance, Sony Pictures. They recently decided not just to leave California, but to leave the country. And I don't know if many of you have been watching the news, but one of the big issues right now is the so-called tax inversions. And you know, President Obama is trying to portray companies that are allowing themselves to be acquired or acquiring companies outside the United States so they can move their tax headquarters outside the United States. Traders, this is unpatriotic. Well, you know, what does this mean? This means that companies don't want to do business here. Well, if companies don't want to do business here, if they're not creating jobs here, they're not helping our economy. So what we need to do is reverse the policies that are causing companies to leave our country and bring jobs back and restore prosperity.
To encourage companies to come back to California or back in the United States, what specifically would you do? Would you give them tax incentives? How would you do that?
What we need to do is quit punishing them. The United States has the highest corporate tax rate in the industrialized world. What we need to do is bring that down. So the more you lower it, the more they'll come back. What we should do, we should have a tax system where companies are trying to do tax inversions to the United States instead of away from the United States. Let's make the United States the best place in the world to do business. And then business will get done here and prosperity will return.
Thank you. That's it.
Anything else?
If anybody wants to talk to him, they feel free to chase him out into the parking lot as you wish. Okay, for the next office we have will be the California State Senate, and our candidate for there is Jose Solorio. Jose.
Thank you very much. My name is Jose Solorio. I'm a candidate for State Senate. Thank you to the Rossmore Homeowners Association for having me here. There are two people running for this office. Myself, again, Jose Solorio. My opponent is Republican Supervisor Janet Nguyen. Apparently she's unable to come speak to you here today. But I respect this district and I want to make time out of my busy schedule to be here. I do have experience. I am a former state assembly member, having represented the communities of Anaheim, Garden Grove, and Santa Ana. The Senate district, as it's been redrawn, includes those communities as well as Westminster, North Fountain Valley, North Huntington Beach, Seal Beach, Rossmore, Los Alamitos, and part of Long Beach. So big district. The Senate districts represent 1 million people, and I'm honored to be on the ballot. So you will see me on your November ballot. For me, one of the most important things, and I think you should all have a copy of one of my brochure pieces, and if you don't, maybe raise your hand and we'll get one to you. But for me, very important, having served in the State Assembly during the down economy. As you know, we've had the biggest recession since the Great Depression. For me, very important is saving money and paying down debt. It's one of the most important things we can do. I saw that we had to cut a lot of things significantly during those down years, and we need a stronger rainy day fund. We have put one on the ballot for November. I actually supported that when I was in the State Assembly. So we need to have a robust rainy day fund so that when we do have a serious dip in revenue, that we have a rainy day fund to keep some consistency and level of services. I want us to have a rainy day fund. I want us to save money, pay down debt so that the resources are there for the things that really matter. Public education, public safety, and infrastructure. Very, very important. Also in the state assembly, I've done a lot of good things. So I'm not just somebody, speaking to you about ideas. I have a track record. And if you go to my website, soloriaforsenate.com, you'll see my long list of accomplishments. Some highlighted on the brochure that you have is I help lead legislative efforts with both Democrats and Republicans, because I'm a moderate Democrat, to end state deficit spending and pay down the debt. We actually, believe it or not, with this 2/3 majority that we have, because you'll hear sometimes that it's very bad, there's so many Democrats up there. We now, under the leadership of Jerry Brown, and I've worked with Jerry Brown, we have had 4 balanced on-time budgets. Before then we used to have record deficits and IOUs, and our budgets would be late 30 days, 90 days. One year was over 100 years late. Now we've had 4 balanced on-time budgets. We have a record surplus. Wall Street keeps increasing our credit rating, and I want to keep going in that fiscally prudent direction. I also worked with Democrats and Republicans to cap excessive public pensions, because I think the public pensions need to be fair to both employees and taxpayers. These things have to be sustainable, and we have to afford them. Also, on over 10 occasions, there were bills related to Prop 13, and I refused to support any of those bills. So I have never supported any changes to Prop 13, and I will not support any changes to Prop 13. So you can count on my support there. I'm a homeowner myself. I'm married and have 2 children, and I do not want to see changes to Prop 13 on the residential or on the commercial side. I've been endorsed, because I am good on fiscal matters and on regulation matters. I've been endorsed by the California Small Business Association. I'm the only candidate for state senate in this district endorsed by the California Small Business Association. I'm also endorsed by all the major statewide law enforcement groups, including the California Highway Patrolmen's Association, all other groups as well in that area. I'm also endorsed by the nurses, the teachers, various other groups. The election is November 4th. Absentee ballots start going out next week, so please do vote. As you all know, it's very important. On the flip side, it speaks about who my opponent is, Republican Supervisor Janet Nguyen. You'll see that on my side, there's a big piggy bank for savings. On the back side, there's a broken piggy bank, given the many articles that the Register has written about some of the spending there. For example, at the start of the recession, she spent $97,000 on office furniture, even though there was already office furniture in 2007 at the start of the recession. Also, on the taxpayers' payroll, she had her husband's business partner. Also, the Register did a big expose a year ago about all the supervisor staff and how many hours they work compared to their pay. Supervisor Nguyen's staff got paid the most but worked the least. Her chief of staff, over $100,000 a year, would only work 13 hours in the county office and would not come in on Mondays or Fridays. That's the Orange County Register. Her sister, also in the county payroll, $74,000 a year, 22 hours a week in the county office. I don't mind that it's the sister, but if folks are getting paid a full-time salary, they should be in the county office full-time as well. Please consider me. Again, I believe it's very important that we keep going in a sound fiscal direction. We've been doing that, and we need to keep doing that for all residents, including those in Orange County. Thank you very much.
I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get through all of these questions, so I suppose I would ask if you keep it as short answers as possible. There's 3 questions here. I'm going to merge into one. The question is how do you stand on retaining Prop 13, keeping it intact, and why, to the best of your knowledge, is the Howard Jarvis taxpayer run ads against you?
Sure. As I mentioned, I have a track record, so you can see in my record that I have never supported any changes to Prop 13. The Howard Jarvis Association is supporting my opponent. So I would tell you that my record is clear. I've never supported any changes to Prop 13. I'm a homeowner myself, and I don't plan to make any changes to Prop 13. We try to illustrate some education resolution with the goal saying that one day California should aspire to have an average per pupil funding in schools compared to the rest of the country, and I voted for that resolution. Part of that resolution had a whereas that Prop 13 affected the finances of education, but it was not by any means anything related to changing Prop 13. The Register wrote about that, said they overstated their statements in that regard. But again, because of my support on fiscal matters and regulation, the California Small Business Association endorses me, and I pledge to you, and again, I have a track record of wanting Prop 13 to stay the same for homeowners and commercial and industrial properties.
Thank you. I was just going to have to pull these out at random here. This one says the cost for a student to attend the state schools very high, and students are now told that if 4-year plans are now becoming 5- and 6-year plans. What was your proposal regarding our public education system at the collegiate level? Sure.
Again, because of not having a strong rainy day fund, we had to make severe cuts to schools. We need to stabilize our finances so that we don't have those dips in funding. I would tell you that because of the support of the people of California and Jerry Brown's leadership and our 4 balanced budgets, we now have more revenues going to community colleges, CSUs and UCs. That's a good thing. I would also tell you that unfortunately, because CSU and UC leaders have been just looking at the dollar, they've been accepting more and more students from out of state and out of the country, and I want more spaces for Californians. So I want to have more spots for Californians at our institutions of higher ed. I want to continue lowering fees and tuition. I was one of the co-authors of the Middle Class Scholarship for CSU and UC. Because of the Middle Class Scholarship, effective this fiscal year that we're in, we now are on a path to decreasing fees and tuition by 40% for folks in the middle class, which is good because, you know, folks, if they're poor, they get financial aid and they're able to afford higher ed. If you're well-to-do, you write an extra check and you're fine. It's the people like us in the middle class that get squeezed, and so we're trying to, through that middle class scholarship, reduce fees and tuition 40%. That's now in progress. I also authored legislation, that's law, to also decrease the price of college textbooks, because that for many students is very expensive, and at the community colleges, sometimes textbook costs are more expensive than the fees, so we need to keep working on making textbooks affordable as well, in part by using more online education, more digital textbooks, rental programs, and just better planning.
Thank you. Another hot button issue that we have in this area is the proposed toll lanes on the 405. What's your stance on stopping Caltrans from converting what should have been a free lane into a toll lane?
No, thank you for asking that question. I've been consistently at all the forums speaking in opposition to toll lanes on the 405. We were told they were going to be free. They should be free. Through Measuring 2, we were never told that there were any plans for putting toll roads on these lanes. I would tell you that I actually used to work at OCTA, and I've told them myself that this is not the OCTA way where they try to sneak in a proposal that does not have public support. I was on the Transportation Committee when I was in the State Assembly, plan on being on that committee again in the State Senate, and opposing any such proposals. Again, I've been vocally and actively and publicly against this. My opponent has not. She's been quiet or abstained on this issue. I view that the 405 and the 5 are the backbone of the state freeway system, and this in fact should not even be a local decision because of that. It should be a statewide decision, and I don't think we want to see the 405 and the 5 being toll lanes and putting more burden on folks that are already paying for these lanes.
Thank you. The next series of questions have to do with the water shortage that we have, particularly prevalent in Southern California. What's your position in supporting making sure that water continues to flow from the north?
In the State Assembly, I actually chaired a water select committee on figuring out ways that regions can be self-independent. We do not want to rely on the Sacramento Delta for all our water. We do want to create more reliability in what we do get from the Sacramento Delta area, but we need to, on our own, as we've been doing through the Orange County Water District, better managing our groundwater basin. There are also proposals for desalination. And if we could do that in a cost-effective and environmental way, that might be something to look at. I would tell you that here in Southern California, we use the same amount of water now that we did in the 1980s. So Southern California knows water conservation. In my own home, I've used now new sprinklers that throw out thicker water droplets, so they go right into the ground rather than evaporate. There's a lot of things we could do to conserve. We use about 50% of all water on outside of our home in Southern California. We need to be a little bit more efficient about that. I also authored legislation that got signed into law legalizing rainwater capture. That's for things in our yard or washing our windows. We need to look at every way of conserving water because we are going to continue to have these droughts and we need to be prepared. But I don't want to rely on our friends from Northern California to tell us how much water we can or cannot get. We need to find strategies to become self-reliant.
Thank you. As you can see, I have a whole handful of questions here that aren't going to be able to get answered because Dorothy's threatening to throw the paddle at me because this is the end of our questioning period of time that we have allocated for us. Thank you very much for that. And again, if your question is one that you didn't get answered and you want to chase him into the parking lot, feel free because we know that there's a lot more questions here.
Thank you again, Jose Sororio. An honor.
Gotten relaxed here. The next candidate we have will be for the State Assembly, and that's Joe Block. So, Joe, you're up.
Thank you. Except for the local candidates, I'm probably the only one who can say hello, neighbors. I live a half a block away. My name is Joel Block. I'm running for the 72nd Assembly District, which covers Rossmore, Seal Beach, Los Alamitos, Huntington Beach, Westminster, Fountain Valley, Garden Grove, a little bit of Santa Ana. So if can people hear me in the back? Am I speaking loud enough? Is that better, or is that still not good enough? Not good enough. Are the speakers working okay? All right. I had a little trouble in the first row, so I'm guessing people in the back row are having a little trouble. Just to introduce myself, I'm an identical twin. I have identical twin sons. I've lived sort of an unusual life after my birth as well. I've been a blue-collar worker. I've been a union leader. I've been an attorney on the East Coast and on the West Coast. I've represented everybody from IRS agents to New York Times reporters to Hollywood screenwriters to blue-collar workers at the university. I've represented management at Cal State University. I've lived in the Midwest and on both coasts. And I believe that I have the broadest experience of the candidates in my race and probably most races. I have a family. I have twin sons, as I mentioned, a wife who works at Kaiser. My mom was a teacher in the public schools in Chicago, in the suburbs there. My dad worked for the federal government. I'm not a professional politician. This is my first time running for office. And I'll tell you one thing after I've learned just in these few months. I want to thank all the candidates that are here today. I want to thank all the candidates who have stuck their neck out, those that have won and are serving, as well as those that are running. And I want to thank all the people that are in the audience today. The biggest enemy we have politically and in our democracy is apathy. That's our biggest problem. My biggest goal in running is to get more people involved in the process. When we don't have enough voices, when people feel shut out, when people feel that there's big money that controls everything that matters in their lives, it discourages them. And that's what is the root cause of a lot of our problems. The other problem, besides big money and the appearance that big money determines what happens politically, is that power needs to be more decentralized. And there's a lot of different ways we can do it. On the state level, it's very important. And the best example of why power needs to be decentralized is this foolish proposal to put toll lanes on the 405. It's a feature of the bureaucracy that the state has become. That a state agency with lots of intelligent people and engineers has come up with the crazy decision that you're going to improve traffic flow by eliminating a carpool lane and replacing it with a toll lane. It doesn't make any sense. I've heard the experts, and I'm a generalist. It's the first thing I like to tell people when I'm running. I'm not an expert on any one subject. Possibly labor relations, which is where I spent my adult life. But other than that, I'm an observer and a public citizen just like all of you. But the crazy decision on the toll lanes has really gotten me upset because we're facing a situation where all of the traffic that's already going to be building up, going from Orange County north into Long Beach and Los Angeles County, is just going to get piled up even more. And what's going to happen? Those cars are going to be sitting there, their engines are going to be running. Where is it going to be? Right outside of Rossmore and Seal Beach and College Park East. So it doesn't make any sense for that proposal to go through. And when people ask me at these forums, what's the first thing I'm going to do when I get elected, or if I'm elected, I like to tell them, it's very simple. We're going to pass a law in Sacramento that's going to prohibit not just toll lanes here locally, but universally. It's not a good idea. Those are the public ways. They call them freeways. And so we need to stop that process here and now. On education, I feel very strongly that's my #1 priority overall. It's the best investment that our state can provide for the future. We have one of the lowest per student spending structures in the 50 states, and we've got to solve that problem first by increasing it. People say, well, where the money's going to come from? And that is a challenge. And while I generally favor progressive taxation schemes, the biggest thing that we need to do is figure out ways that we can cut down on fraud, waste, and abuse and duplication in the state government. And the other way is we have to think about whether or not our continued investment in new prisons and more incarceration is the solution. If you start at the beginning level, everybody knows this, if you start with investing in pre-K education as well as K through 12 and higher education, you're not going to be having to continue the prisons with the huge numbers of people that we have. The other big issue that I think we have to do in education is we've got a very old model. We're dealing with education that existed for years and years and years back to the 30s and the 20s. I see I'm getting a little flashpoint, so I'm going to have to stop there, but I do believe we need more peer-to-peer education. We have to come up with a better model that rewards teachers, has higher expectations for teachers, and develop peer-to-peer education. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a couple of questions. One kind of follows on to what you were just talking about, and this asks, what's your position on new taxes and fees not associated with Prop 13?
I think we need to have to re-examine the entire fee and tax structure. Prop 13 is a good example. Prop 13 has existed since the middle 70s, okay? We have to see who the winners and the losers are. I'm sure many of you homeowners in the audience don't realize that the current status quo of corporate real estate taxation under Prop 13 is hurting you. Because you, when you transfer your property, and the new owner buys it, that new owner is paying, obviously, higher property taxes. When a corporation sells itself to another group of owners, they're not transferring the property. So they're not paying increases in the taxes that goes on their property. So right now, it's skewed against individual homeowners, and we have to examine who the winners and who the losers have been. So we need to do a study, and we need to look at all the fees, not just taxes.
Thank you. The next question we have says, with more fuel-efficient vehicles, how do you fund transportation costs?
That's a serious problem. We have a dramatic problem both at the state level and the federal government level in terms of the gasoline tax revenues and the amount of money for infrastructure improvement. The biggest thing that we're going to have to do, especially in Orange County, is develop mass transit. The current status quo, I don't know if you know, 405 was basically completed in the 60s. It's an old model. You can't have one person in a vehicle clogging the roads. If you've ever got caught up in the 405 traffic jam during rush hour, you're going to realize that it's not a sustainable system. We've got to take the one person, one vehicle system and replace it with a mass transit system. There's a lot of ways to go on that. One thing I've advocated is, those of you who know about Uber, we can have internet dispatched mass transit vehicles where you're basically ordering the trip on your phone. A 15 or 20 person van comes in the general vicinity, picks you up. The technology is here right now. Next question.
Thank you. The next question I have is what is your position on limiting workers' compensation payments for retired benefits for police and fire?
You know, I'm a labor expert. That was a little of a curve to me. I didn't realize that there was a proposal that was being considered to limit workers' compensation benefits. So maybe the questioner can tell me exactly what they're referring to.
That was the question. It had to do with compensation, also retirement benefits, and I would assume that would have something to do with a reorganization of how retirement benefits are computed.
Well, you know, as a former state employee, I've represented both management and employees in the state government. The fact is, you know, let's stop blaming retirees and public workers. Okay, the problem is a much bigger problem than that. I'm not in favor of certainly reducing the retirement benefits of public workers who are either at retirement or approaching retirement. There was a fix that was done recently by the state legislature to curb some of the abuses. We should take a look at that. Those of you who know how it works, there's something called spiking. Basically, people the last few years, a year of their employment, they get a temporary promotion, so their wages go up, so that triggers an increase in their retirement benefits. We have to look at that process and curb it. But you know, in terms of workers' comp, I'm not. You know, cops risk their lives, firemen risk their lives. Cutting off the workers' comp benefits doesn't provide what you really need in terms of public service.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right. For the next office that we have will be the 2nd District Orange County Supervisor, and that we have Alan Mansour.
Excuse me, can everybody hear me fine?
Yes.
We're good. My name is Alan Mansour. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you tonight. I very much appreciate that you took time out of your busy schedules to be here, to be informed on all the important issues that we're facing in our community. I also want to recognize my wife Jennifer and our baby Avalon Jane, who are here supporting me tonight. I owe them a lot of thanks for putting up with all this campaign stuff. But I currently am a state assemblyman in the 74th Assembly District, which includes Costa Mesa, Newport, Huntington, some of the surrounding cities. I got into this race, you know, kind of late because I wanted someone from the district to represent us. My background is that I grew up here. I lived in Orange County most of my life. My opponent moved here from Los Angeles just a couple years ago to run for this seat. But also, I've not only lived here most of my life, I've worked here as well. I was a deputy sheriff for about 16 years. Not only did I work in the jail, but I also worked patrol. As a matter of fact, I patrolled Rossmore, Sunset Beach, and other parts of the county, unincorporated parts of North Orange County. So I'm very familiar with the district, the issues, the people, the roads, and so forth. Currently, as a state assemblyman, I've been serving, I'm in my 4th year, and as I mentioned, I'm running because I want someone from the district to represent us, someone who knows the issues, someone who takes the time to engage on the issues. There are a lot of issues. Pension reform is a key issue you hear a lot about. The county has about $5 billion in pension debt that the taxpayers are liable for. There was a recent vote by the county supervisors on an agreement for pay for some of the employees, and they agreed to pay more into their pensions, which is a good thing. But they also gave them a pay raise to compensate, which kind of defeats the purpose and doesn't really, it's a cost increase to the county and to the taxpayer. But the point I'm trying to make is the press asked me how I would have voted if I'm an Orange County supervisor. Now, on an issue like that that's very touchy, you're taking a risk because half the people might like how your answer, half the people will oppose it. But I answered. I said I would have opposed that pension deal because it's an increase in cost to the taxpayer. But my opponent was silent on that, and that concerns me. So I engage on the issues, I show up, and I put my phone number on everything. It's on the information I handed you tonight. If you call me as your assemblyman or as a county supervisor, I will respond and I will meet with you and engage on the issues. Another issue I've been very outspoken on is the 405 freeway. I'm fighting to keep the toll lanes free. You were promised by Measure M, your half-cent sales tax that you pay for, that you're entitled to a free lane in each direction. And my opponent is being heavily backed by corporate interests that want toll lanes. They want to tax you twice. I have a website, Keep the 405 Free. I also have a website, alanmansour.com. I have a lot of good information on there as well. I recently had a town hall meeting on the issue of coyotes. It's been a big issue in Seal Beach, Huntington Beach, Rossmore, Cypress, other parts of the county have also had some issues with that as well. It's an issue I feel needs to be resolved. People's pets are being attacked, being killed. Elderly people are very concerned. So I think it's an issue we need to address. And again, I'm taking some heat on that. There's a lot of concerns, and people have valid concerns on both sides of the issues. But I do engage, and I will meet with you and address these issues. I'm the only candidate in this race to be endorsed by someone who sits on the Rossmore Community Services District. Ron Casey has endorsed me. I'm also the only person in this race who has been endorsed by someone who is on your Rossmore Homeowners Association. Mark Natickman has endorsed me. I've also been endorsed by Gary Miller in Seal Beach, Mike Levitt in Seal Beach, Charles Antos in Seal Beach, and I work with everybody on all issues. I'm endorsed by Diana Carey, who's here tonight. She's a Westminster Councilwoman. I'm endorsed by Republicans and Democrats. I've worked on legislation. I just had my rehab bill dealing with rehabilitation homes signed by the governor that passed with unanimous bipartisan support. I've also worked with Senator Mark Leno, a Democrat from San Francisco, on an hemp bill, which we had passed. So I'm willing to work with everyone on the issues. I mentioned my website, alanmansour.com. I also have another website, keepthe405free.com. But most importantly, the one thing I want you to remember is my door is always open to each and every one of you. I work for you, I will be accountable, and I will meet with you on the issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm not sure who wrote this, but it sounds like a freebie. It says, what was your biggest frustration as a member of the State Assembly?
You know, it is frustrating up there. Flying back and forth every week can be frustrating, but I asked for the job. I'm asking for this job. I asked for the job as a city councilman, and I'm willing to put up with the frustration. There is a lot of gridlock in Sacramento, but things can get done a lot easier at the local level. You know, whether you're Democrat, Republican, decline of state, it's the issues that matter. Are the roads being paved? You know, do we have sufficient police and fire? And I know there's some issues that are specific to Rossmore. I'm not going to force you to be incorporated or annexed if you don't want to. I want to hear what you have to say. So please talk to me after or when you get a chance, or give me a call. I work for you.
Thank you. As a member of the State Assembly, how did you vote on the shutting down of the redevelopment agencies and the economic empowerment of, I can't read that one. And the question is, why did you vote the way you did?
Yeah. The redevelopment agencies was actually broken down into two separate votes, two separate bills. One was actually end the redevelopment agencies. The other was where the money went. I voted to end the redevelopment agencies on that bill. I felt there's a lot of abuse in our state and it was inappropriate. The money, though, was taken from the cities and given to the state. That was inappropriate. The money should have stayed with the cities.
Thank you. This one says, as a recent retiree from the school district in Orange County, what are you considering to do for the OC teachers? It says teachers make a lot of sacrifices for our students their entire careers, and what are you going to punish them as they retire?
No, I don't want to punish anybody. I'm a former county employee as well. You know, I worked for the Sheriff's Department for 16 years. If the question is referring to retirement, I want to make sure it's solvent for you. There was a court ruling, I just think today or yesterday, that the retirement funds can be cut. They can pay out other things. If a city goes bankrupt, they can pay other things first, and retirement funds come second, which means you may get less retirement. I want to make sure it is solvent. Look what's happening, you know, San Bernardino, Stockton, other cities as well. Orange County does have $5 billion in pension debt. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's an important tax liability, a debt that we all face. I want to make sure it's solvent. I have a vested interest in my retirement being solvent as well. My wife, my daughter, we are relying on that in the future. And so I think it's something we need to sit down and calmly look at and make sure it's there for all of us in the future.
Thank you. Okay, the next question.
And whoever asks these questions, I'm more than happy to personally sit down with you and try to address those if you like.
Okay, thank you. The next question is your opponent supports the pay raises for the deputy sheriffs. Do you support these pay raises even though it may have a negative impact on the county budget?
I think I already addressed that. It was a recent vote. We were asked by the press that the county just voted on this, you know, a contract agreement, if you will, and the deputies union. Now, again, I'm a former deputy, but I got to look at the fiscal issues too. I can't just say I'm going to give everything to everyone. I have to look at the cost to us as taxpayers. So basically, the vote was, or the agreement was, that they're going to pay more into their pensions, which, as I mentioned, that's a good thing. But then they gave a pay increase to compensate for that, which defeats the purpose of true pension reform. And it is a net increase in pension costs, a net increase in cost to the taxpayer. And, you know, no matter how you look at it, that money's going to come from something, whether it's your roads and infrastructure or other issues as well. So I told the press I would have voted no on that pension deal, on that vote. Excuse me.
Okay, quick. We're getting the 1 minute signal here, so if you can keep a short answer here. It asks on AB.
So bear with me.
Yeah, I know. This is a question on AB 109, President realignment. How did you vote and why?
I voted against it. It's going to hurt us locally. The cost is being put on us locally. It's another unfunded mandate. If the state is going to mandate that we take care of more prisoners, we need to be funded to do it. State prison. Prisoners that go to state prison, that's a state's responsibility. We are responsible for our county jails. Our county jails were not meant to handle state prisoners, especially in the numbers that we're getting them.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have in my pile here. So
thank you to all of you so much. Thank you.
All right. Bear with us while we shuffle the deck a little bit here. The next segment will be our Los Alamitos Unified School District candidates. Mike Maynard will moderate that. For this particular one, the candidates will take the seats at the podium. When it's time their turn to talk, then they can go there, but we have seats there for them to sit. So if the candidates for the school board would pick a spot and take a seat.
Hello, everyone. The most cards tonight of questions is this race right here, which shows that in the community of Rossmore, along with our neighbors, Seal Beach and Los Al, that this is very critical to our community, the future of our kids. Based on the amount of questions we have, we're going to reduce your opening remarks to 2 minutes versus 3, so be succinct. And we will start, and we're just going to go from this side to this side with your opening remarks, but we're going to keep it down to 2 minutes. And then with these questions, like I said, there's quite a few. So we're going to want some prompt, quick replies. 3 minutes. Okay. Please. What?
I've had one question. One question came up in here. If there's 4 candidates, there's 2 positions. So you don't have to pick 1 out of the 4, you pick 2 out of the 4.
Okay.
All right, good evening. Can everybody hear me okay? I only have 2 minutes, so I got to be really quick. Thanks for inviting me here today. I appreciate the process, and I really want to encourage everybody out there to get involved. You know, why am I here? I, my whole life, have been involved in activities that involve young people. When I played high school and college football, I wanted to be a football coach. That's what I wanted to do, but that didn't work out for me. So now, currently, I'm a general manager at AMC Theaters, and I manage people who are 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. So it's very similar to being a college football coach because I have to encourage them and make sure that they're involved. The other ways that I'm involved with young people is through LA County Chairman of the Board, Don Canavi, his Operation READ program. We were involved in literacy for thousands and thousands of youth across LA County. And these students had to read the book, Lord of the Rings. They had to write an essay to be invited to the screening. And I'll tell you, the last year that we did it, on the 3rd year, we had 12,000 students come to the theater that read the book, and we got all that stuff donated to the publisher. The main reason that I want to run for the board is, you know, the connection with the community is very important. The board of the school board is a representative of the community. The seats belong to the community, and therefore we got to make sure that the community is heard through their interests, whether it's traffic, lighting, any issues that are there. We have to take their consideration very strongly and make sure that we make decisions that are positive for everybody. The tradition of Los Al Unified School District is great. You know, my wife is a product of the school district, and she's from there, and so we have a connection with the district, and it's been great forever. But we got to make sure. I have 3 boys that are in the school district. My youngest is a 3rd grader, and he's going to be 10 years down the road. He's going to be going through Los Al High School. I want to make sure that the future is great. The quality of people that we have at the district office through Dr. Kropp and Dr. Pulver and the rest of the superintendents there are fantastic. They have a great amount of talent, but we got to make sure we look at the future. So I want to make sure that we continue the tradition of Los Al schools. I want to make sure that we connect the community and listen to those interests. And I want to make sure that that we look out for the education of all the young people out there, and that we keep moving forward and make this the best district that we can. I hope you vote for me. I got everything in. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Larson. I'm running for school board. I've been a resident of Rossmore for 12 years. My husband and I moved here when my son was 18 months old, and I was pregnant with my daughter, and we moved here specifically for the schools. I am a wife. I'm a mother of these 2 children who are currently involved in our schools. One's at Lee Elementary and one is at Oak Middle School. My day job, I'm a public school teacher. I teach at Oxford Academy in Cyprus, and I know what it takes to make a great school. Newsweek recently ranked Los Alamitos High School as the 87th best high school in America, and that's amazing. And we need to give credit where credit is due. But at the same time, the U.S. News and World Report also came out with the ranking and ranked Los Alamitos High School as the 907th best high school in America. So I feel like there's room for growth, and my experience allows for me to get in the schools and help make that happen. I'm an English school teacher. I teach English, and writing is my passion. I own a writing business here in the neighborhood called Write Away Academy, and I work with kids of all ages to help them find their voice through the written word. I also practice what I preach. I have published 2 books. One's titled Yard Wine, it's a neighborly thing, and it is a book specifically about the community of Rossmore and what it's done for our family. And then I've also published a children's book, and I every year participate in the Rossmore Homeowners Association fiction writing contest as well. So I love writing, and I love education, and I love kids all at the same time. I'm running for school board really because I'm frustrated by some things, and I'm tired of the status quo, and I'd like to make some changes, and I'd like to see more Rossmore representation on the school board. And I want to focus on rigor and curriculum and safety and 21st century education, equity for our in-district students. I also want to reevaluate how fundraising is handled. So I'm not a politician, I'm just a mom and a teacher, and I'm not taking any money, but I hope that you'll vote for me. You can find me online at kathylarson.com and read all about me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Barkey, and I am honored to serve as president of the Los Alamitos Unified School District School Board. Along with Diana Hill, our school board vice president, I'm running for re-election to keep up the great progress throughout the Los Alamitos district. The school board is comprised of 5 elected members, of which Diana Hill and I are 2. Our job is to hire the superintendent, set policies for the district, then along with the superintendent and administrative staff, oversee the implementation of our policies. Here are some of the school board's successes. Los Al High was recently ranked in the top 100 in the country. It is no wonder then that Los Al School District has the highest college attendance rate in all of Orange County at 92%. And we are the only school district in Orange County to earn national recognition 4 years running from the AP College Board. All of you must agree that these are remarkable achievements. We are also proud to have some of the best educators in the county. Under my board's leadership, we implemented a 5-year training plan for all new teachers to teach them the Los Al way to be sure they become the best educators possible. I am happy and very grateful that many of our top teachers, including our current Teacher of the Year, Justin Padilla, have endorsed me and Diana Hill for re-election. In addition, we have been endorsed by Mayor Ellery Deaton of Seal Beach and Mayor Jerry Graham Mejia of Los Alamitos, amongst many others. We also know that student health, safety, and security are critical. As such, we hired a district director of safety and student services to implement the board's safety initiatives. I know firsthand about safety and security because in addition to being a family physician, I am also a reserve deputy for the Orange County Sheriff's Department. I led the effort this past year to install automated external defibrillators at every school site. There are approximately 50 other safety initiatives that have either been completed or are in progress. The state of our school is exemplary and getting better all the time. I lived in Rossmore with my wife and 2 kids for 17 years. My wife and son are here now, as is my mother-in-law and father-in-law. My daughter attends college in Chicago. My son attends LaSalle High School. I ask for your vote to re-elect me, Dr. Jeff Barkey, along with Diana Hill, to the Los Alamitos School Board. I will stick around after this program if you have any questions, concerns, or discussion items that you want to address. Thank you.
Good evening. I have no doubt that you can probably hear me because my voice carries. Just ask my family. I'm pleased to be here and I'm honored to be here this evening. And my name is Diana Hill and I'm running for re-election along with Dr. Jeff Barkey. I've been a clerk of the board for the last year and served on the board for the last 4 years. My passion is about this community and about our schools. And I wish to serve again so that we can continue to make our schools the very best that we can have in our county, in our state, and in our country. And I believe that we make progress every day towards that goal. Dr. Barkey has mentioned some of the things that the board does, but you also need to know that the board also approves an $80 million budget every year. We are also responsible for creating an environment between our 3 communities. We're very unique as a school board because we don't just serve one city, we serve 2 cities and 1 distinct community, Rossmore. And it's important to us to hear all of your issues and concerns, but you have to come to us and ask us about those so that we can address them. We have also been, we have a tremendous board with a variety of differences of opinions, but we keep the main thing, which is our students and our parents and our community. All 3 of our board members also do support us. We have signature practices in Los Alamitos that carry throughout our district, starting in pre-K and go all the way through the high school. My husband and I have been very blessed to live in this community and to raise 2 Griffin graduates and college graduates. Yes, they do mostly pay their own bills. Our sons, we taught them to give back more than they were given. And that's what I hope to continue to do in this community. Dr. Barkey and I have been an extremely strong team with our other 3 board members, and we want to continue to make these schools the very best that they can possibly be. We know there's still work to be done, but we're making great progress. If you have more questions or concerns that you want to talk to us about, our email addresses are on here as well. Thank you very much.
This next question, or the first question I should say, is for each and every individual here, and it's a 2-part question. First what are your top priorities for the school district? And then after that, what is your view on the role of arts in our school? So we will start with Mr. Get the name wrong every time.
The role of what?
Schellenberger.
Arts. Arts.
Do I have to push the button? Is it? Everybody can hear me, right? I got that. Okay. Top priorities. I think the other 2 people who spoke talked about safety. I think that that's a key issue for all schools, no matter if it's Los Alamitos or not. You know, my experience in running a movie theater, of course, all of you know about the situation that happened in Colorado, and we had similar issues with shootings and things like that and activity like that throughout the industry. I, as general manager, develop evacuation plans and evacuation procedures that my crew of 100 people and the thousands of guests that we get every night must follow when situations occur. And we do active shooter training for all of our crew members and all of our management staff throughout time. So I think safety is very key. I visit all the school sites, McCullough and LaSalle High School and Lee. And so I see things that maybe could be improved in safety, and I think that overall everybody tries to do their best, but I think there is things that can be improved. As far as arts go, you know, the arts are so important. You know, I remember when I was in high school reading books and and learning, you know, about artists. And, you know, one of my favorite books that I read when I was young was a book called Me and Caleb. I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, and it was a book set in the Ozark Mountains. And I have 3 boys. I tried to get that book so that my boys could read it because it meant so much to me as a kid, but I couldn't get it. You know, I tried to buy it on Amazon, but it was like $130 for a paperback, and then they were out of stock because the author doesn't make it anymore, and then the publisher, well, anyway, that's a long story. But anyway, I think that art and that kind of stuff should be a part of everybody's education. It's so important to continue the culture, and I guess I'm not, am I being timed or am I just going? Okay.
Try to wrap it up, please.
Yeah, okay, sure. But of course it's important. It's part of education. It's the culture of America. It includes art in every way. My business movies are culture in America, and it's part of art. So thanks for your time.
Okay, same question for you, Ms. Larson.
Okay. I'm very clear on what my platform is. It's curriculum, it's safety, and it's equity. I want to see a 21st education for all of our kids. I want to see more literacy in the schools. I want to talk about technology and the role of technology in the schools. The equity piece is equity for not only all of our students, but it's about equity for our own in-district students as well. I think it's time for us to start talking about them. My safety issues are about presence on campus. It's about taking care of the drugs and alcohol. It's about talking through dress code. I think we have some dress code issues that we need to clean up. When it comes to the arts, it includes all of the visual and performing arts. So we're talking about band, we're talking about music, we're talking about art, we're talking about all of the visual and performing arts, and I think they're all important. In fact, my own children have had to take some private lessons because it's not offered in the schools as much as I would like to see, unless you pay for it. So I think that we do have some things that we could do to better enhance that curriculum so that we have a more well-rounded student who graduates from the LaSalle district.
Doctor?
Every summer, the school board gets together to create our priority list for the upcoming summer. If you go to our Facebook page or our website, you'll see that extensive list. I'll highlight a few of them for you. One of our priorities, and it's always the top, is academic excellence at our school sites. That includes things like wanting every kid at the high school to take at least 1 AP class. I mentioned earlier that we've been honored by the College Board 4 years running for our outstanding AP course offerings, increasing course offerings, having more kids participate in AP at the high school. We want every kid to be A through G ready when they graduate high school. One of our toppest priorities is the 4 A's. So we know that there's a direct connection between how connected these kids are at the schools and how well ultimately they do. So those 4 A's are academics, athletics, the arts, and activities. We measure and monitor how connected kids are, and we make efforts to ensure that connectivity is increased and established. Safety and drug-free campuses, really important and very, very difficult. We've had active shooter drills at all our campuses. We hired an SRO with the generous help of both our cities of Seal Beach and Los Alamitos. We've installed 3M film on all the windows that are next to doors in every classroom, in every campus, so they can't be broken, shot open, reached in, and opened a door. Locked doors are our policy. Fiscal responsibility. We've got an $80 million budget that we manage on an annual basis that's directly related to population, of how many kids that we take care of, et cetera. The arts is robust in Los Alamitos, I'm proud to say. We support the arts in many different ways. Our show choir, for example, at the high school, 3 out of the last 4 years, grand champions. The number of awards we've won in the arts are just too numerous for me to list, but we are passionate, committed, excited about the arts, and we believe it's really important to have a robust art program throughout the Los Alamitos Unified School District.
Okay. Ms. Hill.
Thank you, Dr. Barkey. What I am passionate about is every child in our district. I was a child who wasn't a very high academic student. I got lost a little bit out there. But I could achieve, and I could be successful. And I want all of our students to feel that way. I'm very blessed to have just visited my niece who just started at Princeton. So that is the highest of highs. But she should have the same opportunities as a child who struggles, a child who needs intervention with reading, a child who needs a little one-on-one time with their teacher. We have the ability and have done in our classrooms the things that we need to do and in our school sites to make sure that we keep addressing every child and every child's need. We hear those things. We want to be approachable so when your child has that specific need, we can hear what it is and we can address it. That is a passion for me. My other passion is from my business side and my accounting side is that our schools are our asset. I was the chair of Measure K. Our Measure K bond was $126 million that you were gracious enough to elect to have happen and come out of your tax dollars every year. And we have worked very hard to make sure that that money is being put where it needs to be put in our schools. And we've been good stewards that if you look at our campuses, not only are they beautiful on the inside, but they are functional. And they are functional for 21st century learning. We also have the ability to, with matching funds, be able to do additional projects. We added a new track and field complex at our high school. We've done tremendous things because our community connects with all of those things. Those are things that I'm passionate about. I'm also passionate about the arts. I meet with Art Alliance representative on a regular basis. We want to make sure that all arts are addressed in our schools, starting from pre-K all the way through our tremendous programs in high school. And we know that either by the arts, athletics, or activities that connects our child to school. You think about it. You think back to high school. How many teachers can you really remember? But how many activities that you were part of with your peers, that you did something exciting, those are the things that you remember and that you take on and that build your foundation.
This is just a very quick follow-up to something you said. It's not political, it's just one of the factual questions that came in for someone. You mentioned the football field.
Yes.
People from the audience want to know when's the first football game in that football field. No, it was a question that came through. So.
Well, we had I maybe shouldn't mention the JV game we had today, but we have JV games there on a regular basis. That field wasn't large enough, and we didn't want to put so many stands in that it wasn't going to be going to be usable.
Yet?
It is not for varsity
no vision
games.
Of it?
No, but
okay.
Many of our other varsity sports, come out and see lacrosse, come out and see soccer. You'll love it. It's awesome.
The varsity football team draws 10,000 plus spectators, and so it's just not practical, and it wasn't designed to hold that type of a event.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Barkey.
Thank you. Next question goes to our two challengers. Is how many school board meetings have you attended in the past, and how many this year? We'll start with you, mister.
I've attended 2 this year, in August and September, and you know, I am very interested. I've been interested. I followed from afar the activities of the school board, and not thoroughly, but I have 3 boys in the district, and so the school district has always been an interest of mine and what goes on. I think that the school board meetings that I have attended have been very efficient, and I've been very impressed with Dr. Kropp and Dr. Pulver, who I've known for a while as a principal and now as the superintendent of human resources. And I think that we have a lot of talent in that room. I think that the district performs very well. The teachers deserve a lot of credit. My boys you know, have had a lot of great support from the teachers at Lee Elementary, where they've gone, and McCullough, and now one of my sons is in high school, so I can't praise them enough, and I think that the school board meetings have been efficient, and I enjoy the part where they bring the two students in this year. I think that they add a lot to it, and yeah, I've been there, but I think there's a lot we can do to help the district along and connect with the community even more.
Same question, Ms. Larson.
I participate in school board meetings through the reports that come from them. I have also attended a school board meeting to speak directly to the board about an issue that was important to me.
No,
do we go and how do we participate?
How many meetings have you been to?
Yeah,
so someone wants to know. Okay.
Yeah, I have gone, I have participated, and then I follow up with all the reading and read what's going on. That's how I stay involved.
Okay. Okay, also for the challengers, what do you think the difference between the two of you are, if you had to name it, between you and your challenger?
Between us or between us and them?
No, just between the two challengers. What do you think the difference between you and the person sitting next to you?
You know,
it was a question that came in.
I think that, you know, I've somewhat known Kathy for a while. Our kids were in kindergarten a little bit together. And I'm very respectful of her knowledge about education, and she's a teacher that has a lot of experience. So I think that I obviously am not a teacher, and I'm not an educator. But what I do is I connect with young people, and I try to get the most out of them. You know, one of the proudest moments that I've had recently was, you know, one of the things that I get out of this is the opportunity to show my sons that in America, you can do the things you want to do, and that because we live in the country that we live in, all people have an opportunity. And my son, my third grade son, came to me just a few days ago, and he goes, "Dad, you know, I want to run for student council." And I was like, "Wow, that is fantastic." You know, that impressed me, and it touched my heart, because if I represent myself in a way that makes them want to do more, then I've done my job as a father, and that means a lot to me. You know, and all the success that they've had has a lot to do with what, and educators like Kathy, you know, I have a great amount of respect for her.
Okay, Ms. Larson?
Well, I would start by saying he has 3 children. I only have 2.
Okay.
He's very tall, and I'm not.
There you go.
I would also add that I represent the neighborhood of Rossmore, and he represents the community of Los Alamitos, just by virtue of where we live, and I think that's important. And I respect everything that Greg stands for. He and I have been at several meet and greets over the last month, and we've really come to respect each other and each other's position.
Okay, thank you. This next question will start with Ms. Hill and move our way down. It's for everybody. And it's explain your position on how best to implement the Common Core, and do you think it's actually potentially holding kids back? Ms. Hill.
I think that we have a responsibility at the local level to take things that we are mandated to do and to take them and utilize our best practices and things that we know are working well and working well for our students, and continue to make our students the best they can possibly be within the guidelines that we are given. There are some things about Common Core that I think are positive. I think that moving more towards reading of nonfiction as opposed to fiction in our schools are important, because I think that's what we do out in the world. I think writing in every class that we take is important. Just because you're a scientist doesn't mean you don't have to write well, correct? Or because you're a mathematician or an engineer. Everything has to incorporate reading and writing. It is imperative. So I think those things are very important, and I think a lot of the signature practices that we already have happening in this district, starting in pre-K all the way through high school, will help us implement those things to advance our students instead of holding them back.
Thank you. Doctor?
So I'm curious, how many people here have a really good sense of what the heck Common Core even is? Okay, so maybe, 20% or something like that. Common Core is a very complex thing. And by the way, we're already implementing Common Core, so it's not about coming up with a plan how to implement, it's being implemented. There's two parts of Common Core. One is, and I don't agree with this, the federal government has a mandate and uses coercion with tax dollars to get the states to agree to implement Common Core. Not a big fan of that. But California has decided to implement Common Core, and we are going to implement it and do a good job doing it. We are very blessed in our school district to have fantastic educators and administrators that are on top of what's going on. So we're going to implement Common Core in the LoSal way and make it benefit us to improve where we are, to allow all kids to succeed. Diana mentioned some of the ways that we're doing that. We're implementing the mandates of Common Core and the nonfiction reading. By the way, the state has not even come up with Common Core testing yet. So we don't even know how Common Core is going to be tested, let alone the array of curriculum that's going to be necessary to implement for that testing protocol. So we're blessed to have Dr. Sherry Kropp lead the effort, along with Mark Johnson, to implement Common Core in the LoSal way. We're doing an excellent job. We've implemented some benchmarks to look at how we're doing, and we're going to do it successfully and in a way that will benefit all students.
Thank you. Ms. Larson?
I could go on for quite a while about Common Core just because I live it every day. I will start by saying we're coming off of an era of No Child Left Behind. And ironically, we are leaving children behind. So the move toward Common Core is a move in the right direction. Now, I'm not an unapologetic supporter of the Common Core. I think somehow we're going to screw it up by trying to overtest. Common Core, at its core, is really about literacy. If you could walk away with anything tonight, I think that would be it. It's really about the reading, the writing, the speaking, and the listening in all of our classrooms. Somebody said earlier, this idea of when you think back to when you were in school. When you think back, you think about your teachers, and they were the stewards of information, and they stood up there and they taught you things. They gave you information, and that's not what the world's about anymore. The kids are able to get information from any place. It's available at all times. And so the teacher's role has changed in the classroom, and it's their job now to help kids figure out how to use that information. So we need to teach them how to read and how to write and how to speak and how to listen in a 21st century way. So Common Core isn't something to be afraid of. It's something to embrace, and it's something to embrace as a step in the right direction.
Thank you. Mr. Schellenberger?
My position on Common Core isn't hardly any different from Dr. Barkey's. I agree about the federal government does not have the right to dictate curriculum or standards for any schools. I also understand that it's already being implemented. I know through CGI and other curriculum that the school district is already using some of it, and test scores are going up. So, I don't know that that's had any negative effect at all. I do believe that as an employer of people who are in high school or just coming out of high school in the past, their abilities were more, once you take them off script of their testing, or they were taught to take a test, they couldn't communicate or write very well. And I think that, now I don't employ people from Los Alamitos High School because I work in a different area. However, I think that the more that we educate people for the real world about communicating in a business way or in an environment that will help them in the future, and not just to take a test or to succeed at the school level, I think that is very, very important. And as an employer, these people, I think that it goes all the way back to just writing a 2 weeks notice sometimes, and they can't complete a sentence, and it's very frustrating. So I think that if Common Core corrects that through what it does, fantastic, because it's going to help us all in the future.
Thank you. Next question, again, we'll start with Ms. Hill, and we'll proceed in that direction, is there are two programs that currently aren't at the high school. An IB program, which is International Baccalaureate, and then a STEAM or a STEM program, which is Science, Technology, Education, Arts, and Mathematics. Why aren't these currently at the high school? Is it something you're thinking about, and is there a path towards that?
I know a little bit about both of them, and just because we don't have programs like that with those names does not mean that we are not doing what those things are. And so those are programs that you hear in different places that get specific funding, from what I understand. And we've chosen to take and do a lot of those programs under our own umbrella. And that's one thing that we do at Los Alamitos High School, is that we know, and Los Alamitos Unified School District, we take the best signature practices that we see from all over the country and combine them to make our programs, instead of necessarily taking a canned program. And a lot of times with those programs also has to come specific funding. We do write grants for a variety of different things. We get grants from Boeing on a regular basis. We get grants related to a lot of our science and mathematical programs. We just got a new grant for over $400,000 to be working with career-oriented engineering programs. We'll be putting those programs into place at Los Alamitos High School. So those are phenomenal programs that are in many other schools. We take the very best out of all of those and make our own programs within our district, and that's the way that we've chosen to deal with it.
Okay. Anything to add to that, Doctor?
What she said.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. One of the wonderful things about this current school board is we have an open door policy. So our phone numbers, our websites are all published, school board meetings are open. So we are always open to the best idea out there, to the new idea, to the novel approach, to something different. I've had on numerous occasions where people have come to me and said, hey, have you thought about this? So for example, financial literacy, I think it's really important. We don't have that currently at the high school. Somebody came to me and said, hey, Barkey, what about this? It's at that school and this is the way they teach it. So we're in the process of looking at that right now. Wasn't my idea, but I think it's a really good one. So STEM programs, absolutely. I'm open to the idea. International Baccalaureate, yeah, maybe so. Come teach me about it and let's explore it and let's see if it makes sense for Los Al. We've got our own way of doing things, and it's not always in a canned, prepackaged program. We want to do things that are best for our students and our community and the way Rossmore, Seal Beach, and Los Alamitos want it. We work for you, and we want to hear about your ideas. And if you've got them, my door is open. I live right around the corner. I walked here tonight. My email's on the website. My phone number is published. I want to hear from you if you have those great ideas, because I'm open to implementing them and looking at what's best for our students.
Thank you, Doctor. Ms. Larson?
I don't know why they're not at the high school. I'm not making those decisions right now, but I do think that both of them deserve to be discussed.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Schellenberg?
What she said.
Okay.
I agree. Anything that we can do to enhance the education experience of all people, I think is great, and we should look at it all.
Okay. I want to thank all of you for your time. We had way more questions than allowed, but we also have another race that needs to be up here as well. So thank you very much, and sorry we couldn't get to everyone's question.
Okay, bear with us while we shuffle the deck again, and the Rossmore Community Service District candidates, if you would find your way to a seat on the platform, and we'll make the changes. And then I'll turn this over to Mike Sanders, who will be the moderator for this particular segment.
Okay, if everybody could take their seat.
I don't think so.
push it the other way. Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? This is the election for the RCSD. There are 4 candidates running for two seats. We're going to do opening remarks, and then we're going to have some questions. As we did with the school board, I'd like to limit the opening remarks to 2 minutes. I'm given to understand the tape runs out at 9 o'clock, so at 9 o'clock we're done. So we need to make this happen. So let's go ahead and start with our opening statements. 2 minutes, Dorothy. And we'll start with Mr. Burgess.
Good evening. My name's Dave Burgess, and I'm a resident of Rossmore, of course. I came from the hospital to my mom's house on Walker Lee in 1958. I've attended all the elementary school, or I attended Laurel Kindergarten, Rush Elementary, Oak, LaSalle, ultimately Cal State Long Beach. I graduated with a finance degree with a specialty in accounting. In addition to that, I'm a California licensed general contractor. I first became actually involved with the RCSD, attending meetings back about 3.5 years ago when they were planning on rehabbing the Montecito Center. And I think the estimated amount was around numbers, 100 grand. I went over there as a contractor, not necessarily as a resident, and being involved with the RCSD. I looked at it, I'm saying, well, you know, is that what the residents of Rossmore want? Is that something that we need? Can we reallocate our resources? Do the residents of Rossmore actually know about that potential spending? And as a lead into that, I'm not going to go into specifics on a bunch of projects. I don't have a lot of time. I could go on for hours. But the one thing I'm seeing at the last 40 meetings or so is there's not much attendance from the Rossmore citizens. I get it, everybody's busy, you know, they have families, obligations, work all day, get on that 405, hopefully without a toll lane, and then want to come, you know, call them, take a shower, and go to sit at a meeting for 7 o'clock. So I get it. So we've got 10,000 residents in here. I think we have to understand the demographics of those residents, their needs, actually determine, you know, actually reach out to them, poll them periodically, walking down the street. You know, I've gone out for the last couple months just going up, handing my card and saying, I'm Dave, I'm with the RCSD. I've talked to...
We need to wrap it up.
Okay. And anyway, I basically say, you know, you've got a great asset in Rossmore, a great place to live. I think that we need your feedback. I want to somehow encourage feedback, get polls, get some kind of rely on the residents in Rossmore. Almost everything we do in here, there's trades, professions, people that know how to do it, actually come in and do the work, help the community.
Mr. Burgess, we need to move on.
Okay, so anyway, long story short, my last is as an accountant, and I'm a numbers guy. I like looking at bids and stuff, and I want to tighten up and refocus our allocation of monies that we spend.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Rich Butterfield.
Hi, my name is Rich Butterfield. I've been a resident of Rossmore for 28 years. My family's grown up here. My boys went to the Los Alamitos school system. I could say that my wife and I would say Rossmore's the happy place for us to live. We're very content. Over the last several years, I've been involved as a participant with the RCSD meetings. I've seen changes take place. We know about the 405, 605 expansion. We know I was at the meeting a few weeks ago dealing with the toll roads, and it was really sad to see the issues that have gone on, especially with Caltrans. And we live in a day and an hour when the people here don't seem to have a lot of influence on what goes on. I would like to say that I think that there's a lot of challenges that are going to face us as a community in the years ahead, and I would like to be a part of it. I think we're going to need strong, dependable leadership that's not afraid to speak out And I would also like to say that I think I bring forth a fresh set of eyes, not connected with any special agenda, but I've worked with people for the last 40 years, and I work with all kinds of people. And I know some people are easy to get along with and other people aren't, and some people have an agenda and other people don't. But I would like to place as some goals to have a good and open communication with the residents of Rossmore and our new Orange County Supervisor. I'd like to be able to have a continued support for the position of Rossmore in regards to the toll lanes, because I'm adamant about not thinking that's very ethical.
Rich, can you wrap it up for us, please?
Yes, and I want to have better support, be proactive on LAFCO, and I think we need a little more control because of the issues with the coyotes and what went on there, and we don't seem to have control, and I think maybe a little more proactive position as far as LAFCO, and I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Bill Kaler.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank the RHA for putting this event on this evening. This is fantastic. I wish you guys would come out to the next RCSD meeting. We would love to have 1/3 of you show up to express your opinions and your passion for us. It's wonderful to see this. This is really where you can make the most impact, is with our type of a board, because we vote on stuff and it happens, and it really helps you folks. I just want to introduce myself. I'm Bill Kaler. It's been my pleasure to serve on the RCSD board the past 4 years. I'd like to just tell you a few things that we've been able to accomplish over that time. I don't know if you know these things. I've served as a first vice president the past 2 years. We've had balanced budgets. Even when the economy was really bad, we managed to balance a budget, create rainy day funds for us, reserve funds. We've rehabilitated the Rush Park playground here in the past year. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. Tremendous response. We've been designated a Rossmore Tree City the past 3 years, which is fantastic. We've had an independent audit that proven that we're not a drain to the county on our taxes, but yet we're a donor to the tune of $1.2 million, which raises some very interesting questions for the County Board of Supervisors, how they're going to handle that. We instituted a paperless agenda system for the board, which had a less than a year ROI. So that was fantastic. We supported the paying down of the Rush Park bond debt, which saved all of you over $490,000 in assessments due to our fiscalness, our ability to save money. We've rehabilitated the Montecito Center, the Rush Park Auditorium, Rossmore Park tennis courts. We voted for the establishment of the reservation system for the picnic sites at the Rossmore parks for Rossmore residents only. We've supported the not instituting toll lanes. I don't know if you've seen all of our press releases that we've come out for that. There are many other things that the board's been able to do. I just want to thank you again for the opportunity to serve, and I look forward to having your vote again in the upcoming election. Thank you.
Mark Nidickman.
Good evening, and thank you again for all coming out tonight. My name is Mark Nidickman. I am, Martha and I have been residents of Rossmore for 26 years now, ever since my daughter was a month old, and she's out there in the audience along with my son. Thanks for showing up, appreciate it. I am a former president of and board member of the RCSD board. Also currently the president of the RHA. I've been endorsed by several former RCSD board members and also RHA board members, and I think that says a lot about being able to work with a great number of different people and getting things done. In my free and copious spare time, I'm also a real estate and land use lawyer, and I've found that in my last stint with the RCSD as well as on the RHA, that has been very useful in dealing with a lot of the issues and having familiarity with a lot of the issues coming before the RCSD board. It's an exciting time for the RCSD now with another shot at latent powers for the RCSD to try to get control of some of these issues that have been concerning all of us, issues like traffic and safety and coyotes. I'm decided to run for RCSD board for two reasons. One, I think it's very important that we have a responsive board, a board that recognizes that it is there to serve the Rossmore community and not the other way around. And I think sometimes people forget that. Second, I think it's very important, and the RHA has been pushing this for the last year and getting very little back from the RCSD, and it's been very frustrating, and that is that RCSD facilities should be primarily for Rossmore residents. That should be the first call. And that's what their policies say, but they haven't been carrying out. And I'd be happy to talk about specifics when we get to questions and answers. Thank you very much.
A couple of you alluded to this. Coyotes are a hot button issue in Rossmore right now, and acknowledging that the RCSD has limited jurisdiction over some of these things, what would you propose to do about the problem that we have currently? And let's start with Mr. Niddickman.
Okay.
And let's try to make our responses maybe a minute, minute and a half, if we could.
Okay. Be brief, yes. First, I had an important question. Anybody know the score of the Angels game?
3-3.
2-2, eighth inning. Thank you. Then we'll have to move quickly. Last time around, the RCSD and the RHA, and that was about 3 years ago now, worked together with the county, and we got a coyote control program adopted using RHA funds, which means all your funds, because the RCSD did not have jurisdiction to do anything about it. The problem is coming back again, as it does. It's a cyclical issue, and it's not just in Rossmore. The real answer, as I alluded to, is that the RCSD is seeking, hopefully in the next year or two, to adopt some new latent powers, hopefully with the assistance of our new supervisor. And one of those is animal control, one is police services. And with that, we will be able, the RCSD will actually have the authority, the legal jurisdiction, to be able to do something about coyotes. The cities of Los Alamitos and Seal Beach have done so. RCSD is legally incapable of taking any action right now.
Bill?
Yeah, you know, Mark, you've summarized the issue well. That's the issue. However, there are some very tactical means that we can take at this juncture. One of them, for instance, is when Caltrans has worked on this West County Connector project, what they did was they decided to open up the storm drains, and they wouldn't shut the storm drains. So if you don't shut the storm drains, that's how the coyotes, that's their coyote highway. So that's what they decide to use. And so one of the things that we've asked the county is shut the storm drains. So therefore they don't get a chance to come over here. But so there's hopefully with the new county board of supervisors, even if latent powers take a long time before the next mating season happens, we can shut the storm drains, and that way we can reduce the amount of coyotes that like to visit our neighborhood.
Rich?
Yeah, I agree with Eric. I think that we need to look towards a long-term solution. If you've seen the news lately, you see what Seal Beach is doing. They're taking a proactive stance. And I think we as a community, I mean, I live over by Hopkins School, and my neighbors has had a coyote jump, and I back up to the flood control, and this is not the one that has the driveway. This is the deep one, and the coyotes get there and they jumped over her fence, and she had a 6-foot fence, and attacked her dog and killed it. And this is several years ago when we had the onslaught. But I think that we need to look at a long-term solution, and I think part of that is to have control with the RCSD to be able to take action.
Dave?
Regarding the coyote, let me turn back. Regarding the coyote situation, I agree that potentially latent powers will bring more control to the RCSD. I honestly don't know. I haven't researched myself. I do know that if the RCSD doesn't have legal authority, that they should still be putting pressure on the animal control organization and just don't bring it up at a meeting and then, you know, a couple months later. And I really don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but if it's serious and if citizens agree that it's serious, then we should keep hammering it. And I don't know what that mode or that method is, to be honest with you. But it's a problem, and I've heard it's a problem, and I've seen the coyotes.
The Rossmore community has a number of facilities. Rush Park obviously is one of them, Montecito Center. In your view, what are the most pressing upgrades that are needed to the facilities that are managed by the RCSD?
You want to start with me again?
Yeah, why not?
Start the other end? Okay. The RCSD was discussed their budget surplus, and actually when I left the RCSD in 2008, it had a much larger surplus. They have spent a lot of money in the last few years on facilities upgrades, capital improvements. Some of those I think were a good idea. Some of those, had I been on the board, I probably would have suggested they look at some of the numbers more carefully. But so in terms of upgrades that are currently needed to the facilities per se, I think they're in pretty good shape at this point. I think one area that does need to be looked at is the landscaping and the maintenance of the lawns. We're all in a severe water shortage now. Hopefully you got the RHA email blast out the other day. We now have mandatory water conservation measures. And when I walk around on the morning and look at the park, I see places where the RCSD is watering the sidewalk. I see, you know, puddles being created and dry spots. While they do have a contractor handling that, I think the RCSD really needs to look at issues as to how to better maintain the parks in light of and in view of the water shortage, and try to better limit its water usage and maybe look at some alternatives to, I'm not taking away the fields, but in some of the areas maybe they can come up with alternatives that are more water conservation conscious.
Okay, Bill, let's try to keep our answers as brief as possible because we're pushing up against 9 o'clock.
Sure, yeah. So we start looking at the facilities and trying to improve the facilities, and you're right, Mark, we have done a lot over the past 4 years just because things needed to be updated and brought into this decade. So like at Rush Park here, we did a huge lighting project to save money, to go retrofit lights to save the district money. We improved the HVAC system here. Over at Rossmore Park a few years ago, we did a big kitchen upgrade to go help with the summer programs that we might have there. So that did cost the district some money. At the Montecito Center, brand new kitchen we had to go do and to go bring it up to some ADA requirements. That's just being launched, I think, in the next month, or it's launched recently. It's going to be fantastic. I would say probably one of the other issues that we're probably looking at is making some of the picnic areas here a little bit more permanent in terms of canopies and structures to make them more interesting to rent to people. This one right out here with that temporary structure gets rented all the time. And it's like, wow, you know, maybe we should go and invest in that. But we would love to have all of you show up to the next RCSD meeting and help us to go give us ideas, because it's not our money, it's our money, right? And so if we don't want to spend it, then let's not spend it. Let's save it and do something that we can all benefit by.
Rich?
Yeah, as a homeowner that I am, and probably a lot of you people are, it costs money to do upgrades. It costs money to keep your house up. And I think that my position on this is because I'm not as familiar with all the specific projects. I think I'm a fresh set of eyes that's not afraid to look at everything, look at the fields. I mean, I've been talking to people, and they talk about the condition of the fields. They talk about groups that are using the fields, and it tears them up a little bit. And so my position would be I'm a fresh set of eyes.
Dave?
I've been going to meetings and watching the budgets and the P&Ls and the capital improvements program. I think in general, most of the facilities are in pretty good working order based upon the requirements. The Montecito Center is adequate for the usage. This is the light, like someone said, the lighting's been upgraded. I think we're okay there. I believe that when we go to spend anything over $60,000, that we ought to go out to the residents and say, is this something you want? You can do this, this, or this. Currently, and I'm going to make this quick, I'm 100% opposed to fixing 20 feet of the Rossmore wall that's been damaged aesthetically and spending $60,000 to fix 20 feet of a wall that has about 2,000 linear feet of damage. That's all I have.
I'm going to cut off the questioning now because we're going to run out of tape. I think Milt wants to wrap up. I want to thank everybody for being here, sharing your views, and I'm sure that if anybody has any additional questions, you guys would be happy to hang around and talk to folks. Thank you.
People need to thank the candidates all for showing up this evening, and we thank all of you for showing up this evening. Don't forget that the election will be on November the 4th, and now that you're educated, you can vote intelligently. Thank you.